It's time now for a look at the latest business headlines. Stephen Carroll joins me this morning. Good morning, Stephen.
Hi, Melissa.
We begin in Japan, where the government looks set to delay a controversial rise in sales tax.
This announcement is expected to be made by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in the coming days. The tax on all goods and services was meant to increase from 8 to 10% next April. The policy is a key part of so-called Abenomics, the Prime Minister's plan to relaunch the Japanese economy. But the last tax rise 2 years ago pushed the world's third largest economy into recession. Retail sales haven't really recovered since then. New figures out today show they fell again in April. Now, speaking after the G7 meeting last week, Shinzo Abe said that Japan would use all policy tools to overcome a global economic crisis. Officials now saying that'll include pushing back the sales tax hike until October 2019.
Tell us how that's going down on markets.
We've seen a rise on the Nikkei in Tokyo. It finished the day up over 1% at the end. That was also helped by a weakening in the Japanese yen against the dollar, finishing up about 1.25% at the end there. Smaller gains on the Hang Seng in Hong Kong and on the Shanghai Composite. Some small falls on the Kospi in Seoul. In Europe today, it's a quieter day for trading. That's because London is closed for a bank holiday. Here in France, the market's suggesting news that growth was better than had been expected at 0.6% in the first quarter. That's slightly higher than the first estimate of 0.5%. Paris market still starting down, though, and some small gains in Frankfurt.
Now, one of the richest men in the world, Stephen, has opened a theme park which he's hoping will rival Disneyland.
This is the billionaire Wang Jianlin. With his company Wanda, he's trying to beat Disney at its own game by opening a rival theme park with cheaper tickets. He's timed it carefully too, the park opening just weeks ahead of the new Disneyland Shanghai. Julia Kim has the story.
China's answer to the happiest place on earth. The $3 billion Wanda city boasts a theme park, hotels, shops and an aquarium, all designed to rival the first Disneyland in China, which is set to open near Shanghai on the 16th of June. The man behind the project is one of China's richest men, and he's on a mission to put Chinese culture back on the map.
Chinese culture led the world for 2,000 years, but in the last 300 years, because of our lagging development and the invasion of foreign culture, we have more or less lacked confidence in our own culture and fond of our foreign imports.
But that hasn't stopped Wanda's chairman from making some big purchases in America. Earlier this year, he bought Legendary Entertainment, one of the Hollywood studios behind the Batman films, for $3.5 billion. In 2012, Wanda acquired US-based cinema chain AMC for $2.5 billion. At home, Wang is still battling for the upper hand in China's $610 billion tourism industry.
He was emphasizing, the high cost of Disneyland versus his parks. He was appealing to, Chinese culture, understanding the local market.
Wang will also take on Disney in France. He's pouring over €3 billion into Europa City, an amusement park complex near Disneyland Paris, which is due to open in 8 years.
Some more of the day's business headlines for you now. Lufthansa is to halt its flights to Venezuela from next month because of the country's economic crisis. The Frankfurt to Caracas route will be suspended from June 17th. German Airlines says it's seen a drop in passenger numbers and that currency controls are making it impossible for them to transfer foreign currency out of the country. The price of Bitcoin has surged by almost 20% in the past week after it was announced that a huge batch of the digital currency would be auctioned in the coming month. The Australian arm of consulting firm EY says it's selling almost $13 million worth of Bitcoin that were confiscated as proceeds of crime. And 2015 appears to have been a very good year for Bordeaux wine producers. Figures from the Livex Wine Exchange say producers are selling their vintages from last year for almost 20% more than 2014's. It's thought the weather in 2015 will help to produce Bordeaux's best wines this decade.
We look forward to it. Finally from you, Stephen, the tennis star Novak Djokovic on the cusp of a milestone.
Yes, he's close to surpassing the $100 million mark in prize money, a record for a tennis player. After his victory in Miami last month, the world number one had surpassed Roger Federer with almost $99.7 million in prizes. Now, Novak is facing Spain's Roberto Bautista Agut at Roland Garros for a place in the quarterfinals. That honour, even just getting into the quarterfinals, would earn him almost €300,000, which will take him over that line of the 100 million mark. That figure, of course, without the huge advertising revenues that these players also earn, quite apart from winning the prizes.
It's not bad. Thank you very much indeed, Stephen Carroll. Look there at the latest business headlines, 27 minutes past 9, a quick break. And we'll be right back with the latest news. A suicide bombing in Baghdad has targeted a checkpoint, killing at least 8 people. This even as Iraqi elite forces are poised to enter the centre of Fallujah. We'll be bringing you the very latest on that news from Iraq in just a moment.